Welcome, everyone, to the very first Operation Veteran Now's No Neutral podcast. This is a show all about veterans in motion using sports to build mental and physical strength post-service. I'm your host, Taylor. Here with me today is Jason, an Army veteran. Jason, how long exactly did you serve? And you had a couple deployments, right?
Yeah, so I enlisted in 2003. I deployed in '07, '08, came home in '09 from Iraq, and then volunteered from another deployment 2011, 2012 to Afghanistan. And effectively, I served, I think I ETS'd May of 2015. So just right at 12 years.
Yeah, those were definitely hot zones at the time. With how long pre-mob and demob can be, that was maybe like a year difference between them. And between the locations and the time frame, how different were the deployments?
So honestly, like Iraq, I have a 4-year-old son, and I would go back to Iraq on vacation tomorrow. Like it was bad, but it wasn't horrible. You know what I mean? Like the people there seemed to really want us to be there. Um, it was it was a deployment for sure, and there was bad times, of course, but it wasn't horrible. Afghanistan, you couldn't give me all the gold in Fort Knox to go back there for one day. Afghanistan, the people there were just so uneducated. I'll never forget, we were on mission north of Shivali province, and our interpreter, when we ran into some local TCNs or third country nationals, our interpreter basically told us that they thought we were the Soviets. I
Oh,
mean,
geez.
how many years was that previous, and they thought we were the Soviets still. I Afghanistan was a completely different ball of wax. It was something. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I did it, but uh, I would never want to go back again. The just They know that land so well. I mean, we may have superior firepower, but there's something to be said when they know the landscape a lot better than us. And it was a really rough deployment. We lost 10% of our company while we were over there.
Ooh.
We're a real small company. We're a sapper company, and it was rough. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I got to see both. A lot of guys have only done Iraq or they've done Afghanistan. To say I've been to both is kind of neat. And it was part of the world that I'll never see again. But at least I got to see it once, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Climate-wise, I can see them being similar. I kind of think culturally they'd be, kind of close, but not that vastly different.
Yeah, and it was the. It seemed like in Iraq, people knew more of what was going on, especially like in real world events. Afghanistan, where I was at, we were so far away from all the big cities. It was basically dealing with farmers, and uh, half the people we dealt with didn't know how to read or write. Everything was always passed down generation to generation by word of mouth. So a lot of that was it. Excuse me. It was just really hard. It's hard to communicate like why we're there, what we're doing, and everything else. Um, Climate wise, it was pretty similar. I will say this: it was a lot colder in Afghanistan than it was in Iraq,
Hmm.
especially during the winter months. We got snow where I was at in Afghanistan, and I was an E5. I ended up making E6 while I was over there, and I remember being a smartass, and I basically said, "Hey, I don't need any of my freaking cold weather gear. We're going back to the desert." Come January and February, I was borrowing stuff from everybody because I was so freaking miserable. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I did both of them. But yeah, they're similar to a point, but vastly different. If that makes any sense.
No, 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 it makes complete sense. Um, so what your role probably changed going from 5 to 6 instead of being like a squad leader or,
Yeah.
in
So I,
charge of a couple people, you're in charge of a couple or many.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I went from a team leader, being in charge of about 3 guys. Now all of a sudden I'm in charge of two team leaders plus all their guys. And it was just different. It was really, really different. So truth be told, it was a combat engineer unit that I went with. Well, I had made friends with these guys throughout the years when I had served. I was 11 Bravo. I didn't have a 12B or 12 Bravo MOSQ, and these guys knew I wanted to deploy with them, and it was, they were looking for an E5 at the time, and I said, hey, I'll go with y'all. So I met with an LT. We sat down, and he goes, "So are you 12 Bravo?" And I'm like, "No, not at all." I said, I can learn. I'm an 11 Bravo." And he said, "Well, we can forge the paperwork." So I actually got on the job training of being a combat engineer in Afghanistan, and it was kind of neat. Towards the end of deployment, I got to put some missions together and actually run them the whole way through. Um, and that was really cool. I was young back then, and I was in my late 20s, and to be able to do that at that age, I thought was really neat. Ran a lot of successful missions and was really happy about it. But I had really good team leaders. I had a corporal, and then I had a sergeant underneath me, and Sergeant Watts was by far the most squared away guy you could ever ask. Corporal Keller was real young and real gung ho, so he was really good with his team. And at the end of the day, I don't take credit for any of it. My guys executed everything they needed to do, and it made me look really good. I mean, my guys were phenomenal, and I always tried. That was one thing, is I wanted them to know how well they did, and I think I conveyed it enough. But it worked out really good when you have good leadership underneath you and above you. That's all the difference in the world.
No, it makes the world a difference. One of my units, I was in charge of like 6 people. That was easy to do.
Yeah.
Next unit, I had 13 and I was an E5. I had a couple E4s and a bunch of privates, and it was like herding cats. It was
Yeah.
tough. That and being
Yep.
a logistics guy, the data was all messed up, and I want to fix the data, but I got to find all my cats because they're just poof.
Yep, I got real lucky, especially over there. I mean, there's not much to do. We were on a very small fob. But like my guys, and I pretty much told them, said, I'll never mess with your time. I'm never going to have you guys do dumb stuff. Let's just get done what needs to be done prior to mission, after mission, and, leading up to it. And if you get it done and it's done correct, you trust but verify, right? As an NCO, you make sure it's
Mhm.
good, and then you got to verify it. But it got to the point where all my guys, their weapons were tight. All their gear was laid out. They knew everything. They knew how I operated, and it kind of gelled and it worked. And that was something super special about deployment. The implied task you don't have to explain anymore, and that's what's really hard in the civilian world. Is sometimes you have to explain that implied task, whereas for guys like you and I, and a lot of our friends at OVN and everything else, it's like, how are you not thinking about this? It just makes sense. So it was really nice when we were all firing, on all cylinders.
No, a team working together is one of the best things because you guys don't even have to think about who's doing what sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
absolutely.
you got out at 12 years or so in.
Yeah.
What made you decide, you know what, it's time to hang it up instead of doing the full 20 at that point?
I know. And that's a decision that I literally think about every single day, because I was over the halfway point. To be 100% honest, in Afghanistan, out of my squad, I lost one guy out of my squad and another out of another squad. And specialist Nicholas Taylor and specialist Sergio Perez were KIA 16 July and 2012. And like we had lost guys previous to that in January, but like when you lose your own, it's really, really tough. And what I couldn't fathom or understand is I was an E6. We were training on different things while we were over there. And it's like everything from Iraq to Afghanistan, all the different experience I've had in my life, it's like it didn't matter. You had to train to Army TRADOC no matter what.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not saying that TRADOC is wrong, but I'm saying it can be improved upon. And I felt like as an E6, I'd be able to make a little bit better of a difference. And in my experience, that little bit of difference never happened. And I was over it. I was mad. I was angry. I didn't understand, I guess the ramifications of everything. As far as, why did my guys get killed that day? Why wasn't it me? Why wasn't it this guy or that? Why did it happen? Why did it play out the way that it did? Um, and obviously, you can Monday morning quarterback it all day long. I would have done this different. I would have done that different. But at the end of the day, it happened, and I was just mad. I was mad at the whole. I was mad at the Army, and I was getting ready to ETS, uh, and I just decided, you know what, I'm done. I feel like it's not going to get any better. Whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, I guess I don't know. Had I stayed, would things be different? I don't know. I look at the state of the Army now, and it's a lot different now, today in 2026, than it was in '03 when I went in. And it's crazy to think, because I don't feel that I'm that old, but 20 years has gone by, and it's just it's crazy. So yeah, I was just mad. I didn't want to be in it anymore, and um, I was tired. Part of me was tired of missing family events, and you know, when you enlist at a young age, you don't get the college experience. You don't get the hanging out in your late 20s and early 30s. Every day is it's a mission. You get up, you do your
Hmm.
PT, you do this, you do that. So I was just ready to be done, and I decided to walk away.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I know a couple different people who around that time were like, you know what, I'm done. Especially, you know, going from infantry to being a combat engineer. Those are hard on the body MOSs for sure. That completely different than me being logistics, who I have to carry heavy stuff every once in a while, heavy parts and all that, but not near as much as you guys have to manually do.
Yeah, and it was, that's the other thing too. People don't realize is like we like in Iraq, pretty much we go out on mission and you'd be gone for a couple of days, no big deal. Afghanistan, it was weeks at a time that you're sleeping in a hammock, sleeping in a truck, sleeping on the ground, whatever it may be, and it does. It wears on your body, and um, I'm going to be 40 next month, and I mean I have arthritis so bad, and issues, different things, and the VA does what they can, of course, but like you're screwed up for life. I mean, there's just no way
Hmm.
around it. And, people always say, well, you chose to do that. You chose to enlist. Well, absolutely. But I didn't choose, to go to combat. I didn't choose to do the things that I did. I chose to serve, in the best way the Army needed me. And it's rough. I mean, there's things that you deal with. And, I have a 4-year-old son, and playing with him on the floor and wrestling around is great. But you try to get up, it's not just snapping up, like you're 20 again.
No, I've dealt with that a little bit. I went with I think a 6 month period where at least once a month I pulled a back muscle, and that was just awful. Just from loading stuff up, unloading stuff over time, it
Yeah,
wears on you. I started doing yoga to help, and that helps because there's little small muscles in your back that you can't always easily work out.
sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, I try to stay active, especially with ride moto and everything else. Like, I deliver for work, I drive a delivery truck. And like I'm constantly in and out of the back of a big box truck. I lift about anywhere from 90 pounds to 3 pounds a day. Every time getting in and out of the back. So there's ways to do it, that I do stay active, but and I mountain bike, try to work out, different things like that. But at some point, it's hard. I mean, when I was in high
Hmm.
school, I ran track and cross country, and I genuinely hated running, but I loved it at the same time because it's boring, but I enjoyed pushing myself, especially past the point where you want to quit. And I always thought that was really neat. And I can't run anymore. I mean, it truly hurts to the point where if I go run, 5 to 8 miles, I am going to pay for it for the next 2 weeks, and
Oof.
that's one of the things that hurts so bad. I mean, even riding, I'll go. I haven't ridden since October, unfortunately. In the next 2 weeks, I'm going to go do some Supercross stuff, and like I'm really excited, but I'm terrified for the first 3 days after because I'm not going to be able to move. I mean,
Yeah,
just
no.
everything's going to hurt.
The first ride after a long break is just always brutal. Kind of like if you take a couple months off the gym, getting back into it, except it's worse than that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So then when you got out, did you do any motocross stuff before you
So
enlisted?
when I was a kid, my mom got me into this program called NIPM, and it was the National Youth Program using mini bikes. It was based out of South Chicago, and basically they took kids. I want to say 13 to 16, roughly. Um, and what it was is you had to keep your grades up in school and everything else. And the city had a deal with Honda, and you got to learn how to ride dirt bikes. Whether it was it wasn't necessarily motocross; it was more trails, but it was everything from just riding. Basic riding position. How to ride with a clutch, all that good stuff. My mom actually found out about it and thought, "Oh, this is perfect." Because I wasn't a great student. It's not that I was bad, I guess, in the sense, but I just knew that college and that whole educational track wasn't for me. I was going to be a blue collar, kind of guy, and I just never really cared about school. I did enough, to pass and graduate and things, but my mom saw that at a young age and said, "Hey, if you want to ride these dirt bikes, your grades got to be up," which was actually kind of a cool program. So I started doing that in grade school. Absolutely loved it. My parents couldn't afford, for me to get my own dirt bike, this and that. So I had a paper route, bought a bike. At that time, it was an old YZ 125 and rode a bunch of trails. We really couldn't afford to go to too many tracks. And then as I, obviously got a little bit older, while I was in the military, I rode a little bit, but not too much. I actually got into drag racing motorcycles quite a bit, which was way more expensive than moto, but it was a lot of fun because it paid money. It didn't matter how good you were. It's if you entered a pro class, you entered a pro class. Um, so I did that quite a bit. And then when I got out, I was kind of went down the Harley Davidson street bike, kind of deal that a lot of veterans do. Did that for a few years. And my wife actually, Megan, found out about VenomX. She was Googling some stuff to, kind of help figure out what she could do to help me deal with my issues. She found out about Veteran MX Foundation and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in racing dirt bikes or riding dirt bikes?" And I said, "Yeah, I would, but it's expensive." And she's like, "Well, it doesn't have to be." This was, 10 years ago. And I bought an old two stroke, some cheap gear, and we went riding and had fun. And now, if you look in our garage, I got a kit on my KTM and all this, just way too much money invested in it. But it's definitely been a lifesaver for sure.
Yeah, no, I found out about VenomX because I just happened to go to a track at for their grand opening for the season, and I was parked by a couple guys. We started talking because the moto community is just one of those like, oh hey, how are you? Never met you before,
Yeah.
but we're now friends.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually started. It's kind of funny. I lived in just south of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I used to go up to Morelands in Michigan, and I had got connected on the VetMX Facebook page with Fritz Ball and Zach Sen and Jake Crone and all those guys kind of from up there. And this would have been 2016, 2017, and I never met him before, and I drove like 4 hours for a fair race, and we all had an absolute blast. Felt like I knew the guys forever. And my wife had to work at the time, so she couldn't go. It was me and my father-in-law, and I'd known Dave before Afghanistan. And I'll never forget, after that weekend, we were driving home and we pulled over, get fuel, something to eat.
Hmm.
And Dave gave me this huge hug, and he's like, "I'm so glad you're back." And I'm like, "I don't know, like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean?" And he's like, "I've never seen you be the same guy you were before Afghanistan until today." And I had come home in 2012. It'd been 5 years. And that kind of was like, all right, there is something to this throttle therapy. There's something to hanging out with other vets and riding motocross. And I'll be honest, I didn't see it at first. Now I do 100%. I mean, it's been 10 years, or 9 years, but it's just, man, I'll never forget it. I mean, we had such a blast. And what people don't realize is when you get around like-minded individuals, and a lot of the guys in Michigan were Marines and Navy, and yeah, I wasn't in their branches, but we all chewed the same dirt. We were all in the same
Hmm.
crappy place, and it made all the difference in the world. And to see an outsider, a non-vet see that was pretty rad. I mean, that's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, no, all of us have experiences with good leadership, bad leadership, get people below you just screwing up and causing you a headache or and whatnot, or we've all ate an MRE or two in our days as well.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you find out about OVN then, Taylor?
So I found out about OVN because I think it was either you or Peter or somebody was posting about it and was like, all right,
Okay,
what is this organization? Like, I like what I do with VenomX, setting the schedule, getting coordinating with people and stuff like that, but I want to do more. Like, what can I do to help more veterans? Um,
sure.
so then I reached out like, hey, I'd like to be an ambassador athlete. What's it about? Um, that and I was like, I stream on Twitch. I don't know if you can use that in any way, shape, or form. I ride moto. I already know some of the ambassador athletes. Um, so then Tony reached out to me. He's like, yeah, we don't have anybody who does anything in video games or stuff like that. So I
Cool.
can help fill a niche role.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So Tony was a VetMX member I mean, he still is. And he had messaged me actually about a podcast years ago, and we did it, and it was so funny. I mean, you talk about crude. I was in my Toyota Tacoma with a cell phone on the charger, kind of posted up on the windshield, and we did it. But we had talked, and he had asked me to come aboard OVN, and I had told Tony, I said, "Hey, I'm good. I have a lot of help with moto. I've met a lot of great people that have helped me out." I said, I'm all about helping OVN, but if there's any like sponsorship stuff, I mean, I can give you a couple of vets names. And at that time, they didn't really have a lot of moto guys, so I actually gave them a couple of names. Tony reached out to those guys, and for years, Tony would send me we'd always email and text and back and forth, and he's like, "Come on, man, you need to put in an application and become an ambassador." He goes, "You're already doing it. Just, come on, let's do it." I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And he asked me, I said, "There's other vets that need it more than me. Like, I'll spread the good word for sure, but I'm okay. I have plenty of help." And when I moved back home to Iowa from Virginia, all of a sudden Tony had asked for my address, and I gave it to him. And all of a sudden I got a welcome package, that we all get. And I just thought it was the neatest thing. And I called Tony and I said, "Well, after all these years, you finally got me." And he's like, "You've been a part of this from the beginning and you just never realized it." I said, "Yeah, no, I agree, bud." And it was just super rad. And I love it. I think OVN is super special. I think what's really cool about OVN compared to some of the other organizations, and not talking bad about any of them, but I just think it's so cool. We have so many different athletes, from
Oh yeah, no, it's
drift
incredible.
cars, skateboarding, bull riding, ice luge, and it's
Snowcross
the
and
shooting.
pickleball
Yeah,
even. Yeah.
I just think it's the weightlifters and the CrossFit, and I just think that's so neat um, to see. I mean, it's not just one discipline. You know, the feeling that you and I get riding a dirt bike, guys get at the gym or they get here or there. And to me, I think that's super rad because when people see that from the outside, you don't have to just be in one contained area. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we can reach so many more veterans. And that's something that the VA and a lot of the government organization can't do. So I think that's really neat that we can do it.
No, we've got all kinds of people who found essentially their next mission in competing
Yeah,
in different avenues that not only shine a light on to OVN, but also, you know, yes, they're veterans struggle post-service. They don't have to. There's ways to, deal with that. There's various outlets.
sure. Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it's awesome. I think it's a real special deal. And um, word on the street, not to let cat out of the bag, but word on the street, they're going to try and do an OVN get together, where we have everybody meet somewhere at the end of the year. And I hope it grows leg and walks because I'm really excited for that. I think that'd be really neat just to meet all these guys, and gals. I mean, there's so many cool people in
Hmm.
this program.
Yeah, no, there's an incredible amount of people who have had incredible, careers, not just in the military, but in the civilian world. And I'm really excited to talk to them, share some of their stories and stuff,
Yeah.
because not everyone's stuck in the motor pool like me. Some people are like you, playing with, plastic explosives and
Not to get off topic, but I'll never forget. So, if you don't know what the MICLIC is, a MICLIC, MICLIC, is a rocket propelled charge or charge might be the wrong word, but basically it's a rocket that flies out of a trailer and it carries about 1,800 pounds of C4 with it. It's kind of like a
oh,
giant
jeez.
cattail. And I'll never forget it. I was infantry. I wasn't a combat engineer, and we get overseas, and they were like, "Hey, Sergeant Bennett, we're sending you to MICLIC training. You're going to be the guy. You're going to teach everybody." And I was terrified. I'm like, I'm not even an engineer, and I'm learning all this. So we get in Afghanistan. I went through this, 3, 4 day school, and we ended up deploying it. I mean, multiple times, and it was pretty neat. But yeah, the non-engineer blew up the most stuff while we were there, which is kind of neat.
No, and I've heard it referred to as the angry Play-Doh before, and it definitely has that name for a reason.
Oh yeah,
But you're a smart
absolutely.
guy, and I figured you should be able to figure that stuff out. It looks complicated, but not, super
Yeah,
complicated. It's not like an engine.
yeah, yeah. Right, right.
Speaking of engines, you're currently got a new project, a Ford hot
Yep.
rod.
So yeah, so my dad used to drag race, and he's always had muscle cars as a kid. I mean, I remember being 8 years old, tuning the carburetor with my dad, setting lifters and everything else, whether it was on his Camaro or something else. And um, my I have a side business doing Christmas lights, and I've always looked for something. Well, my wife had mentioned to me, she said, one of these days we got to get a cool car, something old. And I'm like, oh, all right. I took that as I'm allowed to start looking. So got on Facebook Marketplace, like a lot of us do when we're bored.
Oh
And
yeah, there you can find some incredible things on there.
yeah, yeah. So I've always been a big fan of kind of like the lead sleds, which would be like your 1948, or excuse me, 1949 to 51 Mercuries. Those to find a 50 or a 49 Merc, I mean, you better take out a second mortgage. So I kind of kept looking, and I found a 31 Ford Model A. Guy had kind of started building it as a hot rod, and it was drivable. It wasn't done the way that I wanted, but it was had really good bones, is the best way to put it. And I kind of showed it to my wife, and she was like, "Well, that's kind of cool." And I said, "Yeah, I really kind of like it." So I hustled and saved and did what I could, and I bought it. It was 31 Ford with a 460 cubic inch Ford big block, automatic transmission, 9-inch rear end, and um, it sat stock height. And I really wanted a traditional hot rod. So what they do is it's called chopping and channeling. So you actually lower the hood, or excuse me, lower the roof.
Hmm.
You'll cut it down, and then channeling is where you actually cut the floor out, and then you cut up into the fender well so you can lower the body over the frame. So my ride height hasn't changed, but everything looks a lot lower because you're lowering the body over the frame. So I've been working on that since January. Um, if any of you guys got tape measures to give you an idea how low it's going to be, um, 36 inches is obviously 3 feet, 48 is 4 feet. From the top of the roof to the road will be 53 inches. That's how low and
Oof.
chopped it'll sit.
Yeah, that
So
is
it,
really short.
yeah. But it's kind of a traditional hot rod with a little modern twist on it. My wife, worked on the car with me. My son's been in the garage and kind of been a family project, but just something fun for us to do. I live in Iowa, so motocross outdoor stuff in the wintertime, we really got to drive pretty far. And even then, sometimes it's risky. You can get a decent track, or there can be a million people there. You pay all that money, and you only get on the track 2 or 3 times. So I thought this would be a cool project, and it turned out to be something I really love and kind of where my family comes from. Having hot rods and
Hmm.
muscle cars and all that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
And no, that gets you back to your roots, really, and starts, the passion for the little guy as well.
Oh yeah, and that's the cool part is, everything that we're doing in my car, from chopping it, welding, cutting, grinding, all that stuff is done in my garage. Which is 100 feet from me, and I think that's really neat. Guys, you can go online, you can search rat rods, traditional hot rods, whatever, and you can spend 15 to 30 grand and buy one done. And hey, look at my cool car. And it is. I mean, there's no
Hmm.
fault to anybody, but the fact that I built mine, I think is really neat. Megan and I and Maverick, we plan on riding in it quite a bit. I actually put a hitch on it. Nobody
Oh,
realizes that. I put a hitch on it. I have an enclosed trailer, but I have access to an open trailer, which is a lot a
hmm.
lot lighter. But I am 100% pulling my dirt bikes to the track with my 31 Model A because I think that'd be so cool.
Oh no, that's just gonna be, you see a cool graphics kit on a bike, you're just like, man, that is sweet. You see one of those pulling a bike, you're gonna stop. You're gonna go up and talk to the
Yeah,
person because you're gonna at least take a photo.
yeah, and that's what I think. I mean, you know, any of us that are probably watching this or even listening, majority are probably veterans, and our days of going pro are over. Those are all pipe dreams when we were kids. So to be able to show up to an open practice or a race, and a nice rig, cool car, whatever it may be, that's fun, right? I mean, it's gonna bring the conversation in, and I'm really excited about that. That's the kind of like what you're saying earlier about Moto Family, and you meet one guy at a track and you're friends for life. That's I kind of feel the same with the car deal. Is it's going to draw people over there. I always have an OVN banner, Venomex canopy, and different things like that, and a lot of people come over just because they see that and they want to know more about it. But when you show up, make a statement, showing up in a 31 Ford pulling dirt bikes, people are going to come talk to you. And I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
just
people are
super neat.
definitely gonna notice.
My
Yeah.
wife's not happy about it. She says I talk too much already, but it'll be good.
No, no, it's super cool. I didn't realize that they cut the roof essentially
Yeah.
to help lower it.
Yep. So I actually did I did a 2.5 inch chop on it. So we cut out 2.5 inches out of the middle and then dropped the roof down and re-welded it. And then with the body, we cut out, I want to say 5 inches on the rear and 5 inches up front. So total, there's almost an 8 inch drop, which is pretty neat.
That is pretty cool. I've seen one or two in person, and I always thought it was just super cool how they've manipulated such an old body into something so different and so cool.
That's what's so neat about it. So the body of my car is actually truly a 31 Ford. It's original, Henry Ford steel. And I just think that's really neat that I have something that in a few years is going to be 100 years old. The other cool part about it is a very good friend of mine here in Iowa. He's actually an Army vet, deployed multiple times, owns his own metal fab shop. He's been helping me with the welding and everything else. And it's just, again, really cool. I never thought in a million years, I'd have a veteran helping me build my dream car. And I am. And it's a really, really neat deal.
No, that is awesome. So then, what's your next mission right now? What have you got coming up next that you're super
So,
excited for?
um, I have Megan and I, that's my wife, we have a car show called Torque Fest. It's in Dubuque, Iowa, May 1st and 2nd. And we've paid for everything. So now the pressure's on me to finish the car.
Hmm.
But the goal is to drive about 300 miles northeast, drive the car there. We don't believe in trailers. Drive it there, show the car off, have fun. They have dirt drags, which is a thing of the past they used to do. So we're going to race it, have some fun with it. Um, that's kind of our newest, biggest thing that we're doing. I'm going down to Indy Supercross next weekend down in Indianapolis. I'm really excited for that. And then there is a race I really, really want to do at the end of the year. And it's crazy to put all your eggs in one basket, but um, I really just want to kind of practice. I got my suspension done last year, and I was just constantly, I was on the bike, then I was off the bike,
Hmm.
but I just found a track 2.5 hours from me. And I messaged the owner, told him who I was and what I was looking to do. And I have Mondays and Wednesdays off of work, and he's going to let me actually come train Mondays and Wednesdays, which is really cool. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
hoping, yeah, if everything works out, I want to go down to Georgia. I think it's like October-ish, September-ish. They have what's called Vet Masters, and that's kind of my goal. Get in the gym, get on my mountain bike, off the dirt bike training, and go down to Vet Masters. And my goal is to top five down there. It's a really big race, national race. Um, I'll be 40 this year, 40 plus. As crazy as this sounds, that'd be racing against guys like Reed, Andrew Short, Phil Nicoletti, and or not Phil. Phil's not in it yet, but
No,
uh,
he's
if I ran
close.
30,
He's
if I ran 30 plus, Phil would be in it. And it's tough, I mean, at our
hmm
age bracket, we get a lot of the old pros, so it's really hard to do well. But I just feel that I'm going to give it my best, and my wife's really supportive in everything I do, and she races and rides too, so she gets it, and we're just going to do what we can. I'll hit open practices, maybe a few different races here and there. Last year, I went to a Loretta's area qualifier randomly and ended up, I think I finished seventh or sixth. I guess I can't remember, but which was enough to punch my ticket to the
hmm
regional. But I just wanted to go race. I think I found
Yeah.
out about the race on a Tuesday, and I'm like, oh hell, I'll go Saturday. And have
Yeah.
some
You're,
fun. So
like, there's definitely going to be some stiff competition there, so it's going to be competitive. It's going to be,
yeah,
you know,
go have some
class.
fun, and yeah, and that's what it's all about. At this point, chasing series and points and stuff, it's just really hard. I don't want to get married to a series to where I know I have to be here at this time and blah. That takes the fun out of it. I really enjoy just being able to go ride. I think in April, I may or I might be going to California. I'm not sure yet. Otherwise, I'll be in Texas. That's a big veteran deal, and I'm gonna, to me, that's the fun stuff. Just to go meet other vets, ride, create that bond, share my story, listen to theirs, if there's a way that I can help somebody at the end, rad, and maybe they could help me. And that's the cool part about it all.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely planning on making like a trip to Iowa hopefully soon to come out and ride once, once spring actually hits, not just hitting up the same couple tracks here because there's some tracks I really want to hit up, but they don't have practice enough, and when they do, it's just too packed.
Yeah, I totally get that. Iowa's the same way. There's not a lot of tracks here in the state. Um, there's one, my absolute favorite, and I'll definitely say Oak Ridge MX. Um, check it out. Oak Ridge is honestly the most beautiful setting you've ever seen. It's all natural rolling hills. It's gorgeous, but they only have 5 events a year. It's
Mm,
I've talked to the owners, and it's family property. They love moto, but like the guy has a real job that makes real good money. How do you bridge that gap? And I anytime they have practice, I don't care who calls. I'm going to Oak Ridge because that place
hmm
is just epic to ride. Um, and it's only an hour and a half or an hour and 15 from my house, so it's not too bad. But like, I get it. Yeah, when places aren't
hmm
open, it's so hard. For me, where I'm at in Iowa, I would say Oak Ridge is about hour 15. The nearest track after that is about 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's hard, when a lot
hmm
of people talk about, oh, we're gonna go ride this weekend, go practice. Well, for me, just to get there and home is 6 hours. You know,
Yeah.
it's
It's a
like you got
serious
to
time commitment.
yeah, you got to leave at 3, 4 in the morning, you know, get there, get set up, breakfast, all that stuff, ride all day. You're leaving at 4 a.m., you're home at midnight or 10 or 11. You're kind of shot for the next day because you got bike maintenance, clean stuff up,
Hmm
relax time. It's hard, but we make it work, and, it is what it is, right?
No, I realized how a year or two ago, just looking at places that I've lived in the past, and like, oh, if I move back, what kind of track situations are there? And I'm spoiled in Michigan with so many tracks.
When I lived in Virginia, I actually lived at Lake Sugar Tree Motorsports Park that has a supercross track, outdoor track, trails, turn tracks, all that good stuff. I mean, you talk about spoiled. My wife and I lived out of a fifth wheel toy hauler, and we could literally drop the back door, and the supercross track was, 400 or 500 feet from my back door. The
Hmm
motocross track, was 800, 900 feet. It was right there, and it was so rad and such an opportunity. And then my wife and I got pregnant, had our son, and you really can't raise a kiddo in a
hmm
camper. I mean, people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
I, Megan allowed me to live my dream, racing moto all over the U.S. for 5, 6 years, and I owed it to her to, move
hmm
back home to Iowa where she's from, and raise them around family, and I'm very glad, that we've been able to do that. Moto's a little bit harder, but that's okay. I mean, it just makes it worth
hmm
it, even more. Not that you take anything for granted, especially after deployments, but it just makes it that much more special when you do get to go to a track, and then go to a track that you love to be at.
Yeah, no, that extra stability with people close by is definitely a blessing when it's like, oh shoot, I need somebody to watch the kid because I've got this going on, she's got that going on, or
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
100%.
uh, is there anything else you want to touch on?
Um, I guess the one thing that I'm trying to think of the correct wording to use, but and I know you're up there in Michigan. I'm in Iowa. We have veterans, especially within OVN. We have veterans all over the U.S.
Hmm
I guess is if you see the logo, the green triangle, you see the salute. If Even if it's, and here's a plug for VetMX, but if you're at a supercross race, motocross race, or local ride, you see the VetMX tent. I just think it's so important to just go up and talk. I mean, I'm no different than you. You know,
Hmm.
regardless of MOS or any of that, at the end of the day, we all went through, basic or boot camp. We all learned that we are a part of something that's bigger than us. And I just think that it's so important for guys just to reach out and just talk.
Hmm.
Talking does, uh, it releases so much because the conversation could be, oh yeah, I served and this and that, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, you were here, well I was there, or I was there too, or my brother-in-law, you know what I mean? Like there's always that
Yeah.
connection somewhere in there. And I just think that's real special. And I just hope that all the veterans that are watching this, and non-veterans, that they that they share it, because we do care for one another. Vietnam was obviously probably the worst time for veterans. One of them, they came home,
Yeah.
they were spit at, derogatory names. Nobody was
Hmm.
quote unquote proud of their service. For us, it's completely different, right? Like we came home from deployments to standing ovations, and oh my gosh, you're so brave and so courageous, and yada yada yada. But to actually meet veterans face to face and have that conversation, I think that it's a lot different and it means more.
Hmm.
And I just wish, there's a lot of struggle with the VA. Some guys are thrilled with it, majority are not. Guys are mad at the government, they're mad at this, they're mad at that. But if you sat down, and I'm not saying you even have to drink, but have a
Hmm.
beer with a vet, talk to him at a race, talk to him at a shooting match, whatever it may be, like that could lead to something that's pretty freaking
Hmm.
cool. And I just think, sometimes people get nervous. Oh, I don't want to get in their way. They're working on their bike, or they're getting ready for this competition or whatever. And like all of us as brand ambassadors like yourself, we don't care. Like I think it's so neat to talk to
Hmm.
somebody and learn their story. I've traveled last year. My wife and I traveled coast to coast. We were in Daytona, Florida, and Washougal, Washington. Those are the furthest away you can get in the
Hmm.
U.S. And the veterans that we met, whether they were participating or came up to us, is mind blowing. And I just think that's something that's super rad. And I hope people will reach out and will come talk. Does that make, even in the gamer
Yeah.
world?
No.
It's got to be the same there too, I would assume.
Yeah. No. I play video games with a bunch of different veterans from all across the country, all walks of life, and it's a social connection that you immediately just it's synergy. It just matches
Yeah.
up. Um, and it's incredible. Just social interaction to me with other vets is, it's great. I've got friends from high school and friends I've made, because of my kids and whatnot, but it's different when it comes to other
Yeah.
vets.
Oh, absolutely. And the crazy part is too, and I'll say this till the day I die. Whether we serve together, we're in the same area of operations together or not, everyone kind of has the same fundamentals, right? Like
Hmm.
we all get up early, we all have gone to PT hungover, we've all made horrible decisions in our career, and we've all had struggles. And that's the one thing that I think really is special, especially about OVN, because we
Hmm.
do get guys from all the different sports and things that they're a part of. At the end of the day, like it all just clicks, and I think that's so neat. There's a bull rider, Hank is his name. I think his Instagram is Hank the Yank or something like that. And Hank and I had talked for probably 2 hours. I've never met the guy in person. I don't know that I could pick him out in a
Hmm.
lineup, but he's invited me down to the ranch. Hey, if you want to get on a bull or you want to do this and just have fun, like we're in. And there's nowhere else in the world you can get that. And I just think that's so neat.
No, and that's one of those things that you're like, yeah, let me get on the most docile, but one that's still going to challenge me a little bit, bull. It's kind of
Yeah,
like if you
absolutely.
were, yeah, it's like if you get invited to Travis Pastrana's place, you're doing a backflip.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's gonna happen.
It's going to happen. He's going to sweet talk you into it. He just has a way of doing it with everybody who shows there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So as far as, and not to turn this around the other way, but
Hmm.
I know you've been doing Twitch for a while now, and streaming and different things like that. Is it? Have you been getting a little bit more success, or how's that going with you?
I'm still a relatively small streamer compared to a lot of other people. I think I'm around the 400 or so followers.
Okay,
I get different viewers. I try and interact with other veterans because you can do different like in Instagram or Facebook, you can do tags to help people
okay.
find you and stuff. So I use a veteran tag, and then depending on the game I'm playing, that's who I'm trying to like. I'm ending my stream. I'm gonna bring all my people to them just
Oh, that's
to,
cool.
boost the interaction with other vets and stuff.
Oh, that's rad. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I've met a ton of different people from all kinds of walks of life through
I'm
doing it.
sure. No, that's awesome. That is really neat. Any big plans with Moto this year?
I'm gonna try and uh, I've got a couple different tracks I want to hit up for the Warrior class races. Um, Try and go to Iowa because you might have something cooking there for a week, but potentially go to Neosho, Missouri for the event that's going on there because
Is
I
that the is that that four state or something like that? I'm trying to
yeah,
think of the name
four
of it.
state moto,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, no, my mom lives super close by, so I wouldn't even have to camp. It'd just be like 20-30 minutes to get there and back
Oh, that's
and
cool.
stuff. Yeah, because I tent camp. When I'm at a track, we tent camp. I just got a barrel so that way I could fill it with water so we don't have to make trips with some tactically acquired water jugs that
Yeah,
are tan.
I get it. I totally get it. I remember at Morelands, this is going back a ways. When we first started going up there, it was in the summer, and Morelands has a creek that runs through their
hmm
property. And I remember we'd spend the week up or the weekend up there. And this is way before I had even a moto van. I mean, we were tent camping or
hmm
sleeping in the bed of the truck. And we would go bathe in that river or that creek. And I swear to God, that thing was just above freezing. It'd be 100 degrees out there at Morelands, and that river was like 40.
Yeah,
And it
I
was
I
cold.
I don't doubt it. I in high school, buddies where I lived in Arkansas, my buddy had, some land, so that's where I started riding dirt bikes and stuff. But they also had a creek that doesn't matter what temperature it is outside, you're gonna feel cold once you get in that water.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so much fun though. We really that was Morelands is a really special place to us. Grant, the owner there, he
hmm
kind of gave Warrior Class its start in Michigan there, and man, we had so much freaking fun up there. I absolutely loved it. I'd love to get back there. It's been about 2 years since we've been, but the track hasn't changed,
Yeah,
still the
I
same.
no, it's still the same. I was there with you guys the last time you were
Yeah,
you
the
were there.
Twisted Tea Nationals.
Yeah, yeah, our own little fun.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. Yeah, that place will always be just in somewhere special in my heart for sure.
No, that's where I met some BMX guys, which got me started into riding a little bit more competitively, and which led me to here at the end
That's
of the
awesome.
day.
That's so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, it's
I, I, I might have been Dakota who I
okay.
met
Like,
because I swear one of the guys when I was there in like 19 for their opening day, said that they were a recruiter or something like that, or in the National
okay.
Guard too. And it might have been Dakota, but it might have been somebody different.
Sure. Yeah, that's the crazy part is just like we were talking earlier. I mean, just how small, I mean, the moto community is obviously super tight, but when you throw the
hmm
veteran card in there, it's like it's even smaller. And it's so neat
hmm
to, meet different guys. And then it's like once you meet them, it it's so small. It's like, oh yeah, we talk all the time. Whether it might just be liking a post or commenting here or there on social media, but it's like, oh yeah, I know that guy, I know this guy. I mean, it's crazy. So no, that's super rad.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think we've hit the nail on the head a little bit today. I think definitely this is going to be really good for the first podcast.
I hope so. I mean, I
Yeah.
no, absolutely, and I appreciate you, Taylor, for taking the time out and having me on as a guest. And
Hmm.
thank you so much. Thank you to OVN, Tony, and Operation Vet Now for everything they've done. And um, I really, really do appreciate it. And for anyone out there that ever, when you see this, my Instagram is sgt.jasonbennett. Hit me up if you guys need anything. Get with yourself. Um, Whatever we can do. At the end of the day, I want to be
Hmm.
able to say that I have done everything I can for others, and I really truly do mean that. If it's a phone call at 2 in the morning, it's worth it. So just thank you so much, Taylor, for everything you've done and putting this together, and for having me on the first one. Pretty
Yeah,
excited
of
about it.
course. I'm glad it was somebody that, I knew to, I we didn't have any kinks to work out, which is kind of surprising.
It's a first.
Yeah. To our listeners, thank you for joining me on the No Neutral podcast today. Jason, again, thanks for coming on. Um, uh, do you want to shout out your Instagram again so that they can people can find you and see, the hot
Yeah,
rod
yeah.
progression?
Yeah, so my Instagram is sgt.jasonbennett. Facebook is Jason Lee, one word, Bennett. If you guys need anything, hit me up. Again, I thank you guys so much to OVN, Venomax, 22 Motorsports, Henson Clutches, and High Peak Graphics and Custom Upfits. I really appreciate all you guys that have supported me with my career with riding amateur stuff. And just thank you guys all so much. And I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yeah. To everyone else, I can be found at Purple Badger Man everywhere, all together, no spaces, capital PBM. Make sure you check out OVN's website. Remember, it's better to reach out before you get to a crisis. But if you are in a crisis, the veteran crisis line is 988. Dial it on any phone, then press 1. Um, thank you all for watching or listening, and I will see you on the next episode.